Hey YouTube, this is Walsh with Thinline Defense. Today I'll be going over a review of the Sig 1800 BDX Rangefinder. Specifically, I want to go over the advantages and limitations of the Ballistic Data Exchange or BDX features of this rangefinder. So let's get this thing out of the box and get it all set up. First, I want you to know that Thinline Defense doesn't get paid anything for our videos, and they're purely informational. The opinions expressed are simply our experiences with the product, and we are not given any of these products for free. All the products shown have been purchased by Thinline Defense. As you can see, my Sig 1800 BDX arrived in this nice but gently beat up box, and I want to get into the specifics that I believe not are all well explained and can be easily missed. There are actually two versions of this rangefinder, and two versions of multiple other rangefinders of the same model numbers. You can see here that this is the 3R version marked on the box. So what does that mean? Well, it makes a big difference if you're spending this kind of money and you don't get the version you want or you're aiming for. I'll add the included cards so you can see the difference in models and their laser limitations. You could easily spend the same amount of money and not get exactly what you're looking for. I wanted a rangefinder that could range out to 1,000 plus, so I wanted the 3R. I was hoping I could also use the BDX out to that distance, but we'll get to that. The rangefinder also comes with a nice bag with a bungee attachment for silent opening and closing. It also includes the aforementioned information card and a CR2 battery. It has a nifty lanyard that can be connected to either side for all you weird right-handed people. I've already opened mine and installed the battery. As you can see, the rangefinder itself is amazingly well built and has a grippy texture to keep it tight in your hand and has fantastic ergonomics. Even the button to engage the ranging function is curved and has small notches to give a positive tactile response. You don't have to fumble around to find the button. You just naturally use it without even trying. In the Sig 1800 BDX, the BDX stands for Ballistic Data Exchange. The idea behind the BDX is that you can input your bullet ballistic data and the rangefinder uses the app to calculate your exact mil or MOA adjustments on the fly. So let's set it up and see how it works. First, you got to download the Sig BDX app from the App Store, and then we can start messing with all the settings. So once you have the app, the first step is to pair the device with your phone, and then you can set up the ballistic profiles for your rangefinder. So you'll click pair, and you'll see the rangefinder in the lower part of the app, and then you'll click connect, and it'll have you read a few numbers off the actual rangefinder display. Then once you're all paired up, now you can actually mess with the ballistic profiles. Here, I input the information I already had loaded from my Applied Ballistics app from my Hornady ELD 6.5 Creedmoor bullets. Now we can go back and finally use the actual rangefinder. Here you can also add a crossbow if you like shooting but dislike archery. You would need their fancy Sierra scope to use the majority of the features though. Once you're in the rangefinder section, click on the range button on the rangefinder to connect it. This can be a little bit frustrating as the rangefinder doesn't always connect up exactly when the app wants it to. I've had a little bit of frustration with this. First, let's play with some of the settings so you can understand the difference in the modes it offers and see if the BDX feature is even worth a damn to you. Up in the top right corner, you're able to click on the settings and actually configure the rangefinder. You can also do this on the rangefinder, but I will let you know it is extremely frustrating. First, there are three different ranging modes, and here we get into the selling point of the BDX and some of my frustrations. There are three different modes, and because they all build on line of sight, or LOS as they call it, let's start there. Line of sight does exactly what you think, as it takes the distance exactly from the end of the rangefinder to the target in the viewfinder. It also outputs the angle of incline, but it doesn't make any mathematical adjustments to the distance that is output based on that incline angle. And then we have the AMR, or Angled Modified Range. This function takes into account the incline angle along with line of sight to calculate the actual distance. This is extremely useful if you're trying to make a quick shot from a tree stand or elevated positions. So the unit ships with the rangefinder in the final mode, ABU, or Applied Ballistics Ultralight. This mode takes the previous Angled Modified Range and then calculates the proper mil and MOA adjustments needed on the bullet based on the bullet characteristics we input. I found this feature to be both amazing and wanting to call Sig a piece of garbage at the same time. As you can see here, it works very well, and the display shows me my range and also my required scope adjustments and holdovers. As printed in the instruction manual, the BDX provides a firing solution out to a maximum of 800 yards. And it's not joking. If you range something that is 799 yards, it will get a reading and it compares perfectly with my Applied Ballistics app. But if you enter 801, it's like you've suddenly told this device you live on the moon and asked for a gold shoe. Above 801, it'll fail to give you any output besides 0. And in the instructions, it specifically says that if you will be shooting further than 800 yards, the Kilo 2400 ABS with Applied Ballistic Elite is the preferred solution. First, I love SIG. Second, this is ridiculous. Also, this is the same for all the models besides the Kilo 2400. The Kilo 1000 all the way up to the Kilo 2200 all max out at a hard cap of 800 yards with the BDX feature. And this is documented in the instruction manual for all the models. The rangefinder isn't somehow missing the required math to make the proper calculations past 800 yards. This is just a good way to sell a rangefinder that costs $1,200. Yeah, that's not happening. BDX is the feature that sells this rangefinder, and being able to get an instant reading based on your bullet characteristics is the weakest feature because of how SIG decided to gut it. Now, if you don't shoot precision rifle or you don't shoot past 800 yards, it'll be completely fine for you. But it can read just fine past 800, and I can use this exact rangefinder and the values it gives me to do it. Specifically for precision rifle shooters, you use the line of sight mode and enter your line of sight distance and incline angle into your ballistic calculator or app. Applied Ballistic doesn't suddenly stop at 800 yards, and the rangefinder has the required measurements it needs to calculate much further than 800, but SIG just apparently doesn't want you to have that. Additionally, this can also be paired with their Sierra BDX scope for those individuals that never ever want to shoot over 800 yards, which sounds just fascinating. All right, here we are, back to the settings. In the next setting is the target selection, so you can choose best or last. Best is default and used in most situations, but if you're hunting and ranging through foliage or high grass, last target will work better. Then we go into the display brightness. I'd recommend just keeping this on auto. It's bright, vibrant, easy to read. Every time I've messed with it, I've usually managed to make it too bright or I can't read it. Next, you also have the unit of measure of yards or meters. Yards it is. And you can change the sleep time if for some reason you hate your battery. And finally, you can set the output data to be in mils or MOA. I run a mil scope, so I want to keep mine in mils. Now we'll get into the function of the SIG 1800 BDX. This rangefinder is amazingly fast. And when I say amazingly fast, the ranging is almost instantaneous. You can set it to continuously range, and it'll give you an almost immediate readout of what you're pointing at as you're moving around. And as you can see here in the app, the data updates as you are actively ranging. The wind is input manually, but I suppose it's better than nothing. You can also use your bullet impact at ranges over 300 yards to fine-tune your muzzle velocity based on your bullet impact. So if you use this feature, it'll ask you if your bullet impact was high or low, and what measurements you're using, mil, inches, meters, MOA, and then it'll say how high or how low it was. And then it will adjust your velocity based on that measurement. It's really pretty slick. So what are the ranging limitations? The rangefinder can read 5 yards at a minimum down to 0.1 yards. At 5.1 and 5.2 and 5.3 yards, the rangefinder reads perfectly and accurately. But 4.9, nope. The readout just goes blank like you've reached the edge of infinity. Using just regular ranging, it's pretty easy to get a 1,000-yard reading, but anything past that is a little more challenging, which it doesn't surprise me as we're reaching the limit of what the device says it can actually read. For reading long distances, the manual recommends you push and hold the range button to activate hyperscan mode. This allows you to scan targets at 4 times a second and is supposed to significantly improve ranging performance. Let's give it a whirl with a super long distance here. I can grab a target at 1,100, 1,200 yards, but I can't seem to really get anything over that, which, as I said before, isn't surprising. But the fact that it can still grab at that distance is fantastic. Overall, I'm excited and annoyed by the Sig 1800 BDX. I love the bright red display, the ergonomics, and the crazy fast results. I also love how it kicks out my holdover and windage right through the rangefinder. But I really dislike how the BDX function is purposely gutted down to 800 yards. I get it. You want to sell me your insanely expensive rangefinder. So I'll just use the most basic functions of this rangefinder and use my Applied Ballistics app to do the basic math that is apparently too complicated above 799 yards. Now, I give Sig a lot of grief, but I will say this. This is an absolutely great rangefinder if you're hunting, as you're probably not taking a 900-yard shot. Being able to range and have it kick out 400 yards and a 3.4 mil holdover and take a shot that quickly is awesome. But for archery, this is like trying to hit a nail with a bazooka. You can find much cheaper rangefinders that do the basic math to give you the adjusted distance in relation to input angle. And the features are just too gutted to be useful for someone doing long-range precision rifle shooting. So if you're looking for the perfect archery hunt rangefinder, or you want to hit that 1,000-yard gong, you really need to keep shopping. But if you're out in a tree stand or doing some spawn stock with your rifle, you probably won't be happier.